When you combine trash talk and the physical nature and high emotions of an NBA game, things can sometimes get out of control. The NBA has seen hundreds of one-on-one fights through many of its years of basketball history, but it is the all-out brawls among teams, players, coaches, and sometimes even fans that remain etched in our collective sports memories. Don't forget to watch today's video to the very end as we're bringing you top 10 craziest NBA fights. Number 10. Kevin Garnett vs. Dwight Howard. Kevin Maurice Garnett is an American former professional basketball player who played for 21 seasons in the National Basketball Association. Known for his intensity, defensive ability, and versatility, Garnett is considered one of the greatest power forwards of all time. While Dwight Howard II is an American professional basketball player for the Los Angeles Lakers of the NBA. He is an NBA champion, 8-time All-Star, 8-time All-NBA team honoree, 5-time All-Defensive team member, and 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. The famous headbutt that left the NBA world buzzing on January 12, 2015 happened after Garnett fouled Howard during the first quarter. The two lightly shoved each other, which set something off in Garnett, prompting him to headbutt him near his mouth. Howard, of course, retaliated, which caused a bit of a tussle between the teams. Garnett was thrown out of the game, suspended for the next one, while Howard was fined $15,000 for pushing Garnett in the neck. Number 9. Kermit Washington vs. Rudy Tomjanovich. Kermit Allen Washington is an American former basketball player. Washington is best remembered for punching opposing player Rudy Tomjanovich, which is a story we will tell you in just a minute. On the other hand, Rudolph Tomjanovich Jr. is an American former professional basketball player and coach who is a consultant for the Minnesota Timberwolves of the NBA. His professional playing career, which lasted between 1970 and 1981, was entirely spent with the San Diego-Houston Rockets. December 9, 2002, in one night, a single confrontation changed the lives of two professional basketball players and their sport forever. They were two men living out their dreams of playing professional basketball. Kermit Washington, 26, grew up in inner-city Washington, D.C., and was a power forward for the LA Lakers, playing alongside star Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Rudy Tomjanovich, 29, from blue-collar Detroit, was an all-star forward for the Houston Rockets. Tomjanovich ran right up behind Washington, who turned around to deliver a nearly fatal right-hand punch to Tomjanovich's face that knocked him to the floor, leaving him in a pool of blood. Number 8. Ben Wallace vs. Ron Artest. Ben Cameron Wallace is an American former professional basketball player who is a minority owner and president of basketball operations of the Grand Rapids Gold of the NBA G League. Playing most of his career in the NBA, he is regarded by many to be the greatest undrafted player in NBA history, while Ron Artest is an American former professional basketball player. He was known as Ron Artest before legally changing his name to Meta World Peace in 2011, and later to Meta Sanford Artest in May 2020. Sanford Artest played college basketball for the St. John's Red Storm. It all started in the final minute as Ben Wallace gave Ron Artest a shove to the face. Artest was being held back by an official, and Wallace stalked him across the court. Artest decided to relax his back on the scorer's table while cooler heads prevailed. It was then that a Pistons fan decided to lob a cup of beer into the grill of the Pacers star. The rest is history. A history that includes players going up in the stands and a lot of punches being thrown. Number 7. Kurt Rambis vs. Kevin McHale. Daryl Kurt Rambis is a Greek-American former professional basketball player and coach who is a senior basketball advisor for the LA Lakers of the NBA. While on the other end we have Kevin Edward McHale, who is an American former professional basketball player, coach, and analyst who played his entire professional career for the Boston Celtics. He is a Basketball Hall of Fame inductee and is regarded as one of the greatest power forwards of all time. Regarded as one of the dirtiest plays in NBA history comes in centered around the finals between the two foes, who make up one of the greatest rivalries in all of sport. The crazy thing is, it was simply called a personal foul and didn't result in any ejections. Still, the clothesline alone warrants inclusion on this list. Number 6. Alonzo Mourning vs. Larry Johnson vs. Jeff Van Gundy. Alonzo Harding Mourning Jr. is an American professional basketball executive and former player. Mourning played most of his 15-year NBA career for the Miami Heat, while Larry Demetric Johnson is an American former professional basketball player who spent his career as a power forward with the Charlotte Hornets and the New York Knicks of the NBA. The Knicks and Miami Heat provided plenty of great NBA playoff battles in the 1990s. and a big reason for it was the altercations that came nearly every time they faced each other. In this fight, notorious tough guy Charles Oakley was so busy trying to unhook his coach from Morning's ankle that he forgot to continue the fight. Thankfully, Oakley chose to be the good guy by saving his coach, because he could have knocked Morning out with a one-hitter quitter while the 7-footer was too busy looking down in dismay at the Knicks coach who was hanging off of his foot. Number 5. Charles Barkley vs. Shaquille O'Neal. Charles Barkley is an American former professional basketball player. He was an 11-time NBA All-Star, an 11-time member of the All-NBA team, and the 1993 NBA Most Valuable Player, while Shaquille O'Neal is another former pro ball player who is regarded as one of the greatest basketball players and centers of all time. Two of the biggest characters in NBA history went at it when Barkley threw the ball in Shaq's face after O'Neal gave him a quick stiff arm to the face. Both teams quickly emerged on the scene to create a dogpile, which saved us all from having to watch the round mound of Rebound and Shaq Diesel rolling around on the hardwood together. Of course, the two held a pseudo-rematch many years later on the set of TNT's Inside the NBA. Number 4. Kobe Bryant vs. Chris Childs. Kobe Bryant was an American professional basketball player. A shooting guard, he spent his entire 20-year career with the LA Lakers in the NBA, while Chris Childs is an American former professional basketball player who played primarily at the guard position. Kobe Bryant is in rarefied air when it comes to his competitiveness on the court. His attitude and arrogance have endeared him to Laker fans for nearly 2 decades, while infuriating opponents and opposing fans alike. However, his fighting skills were not up to snuff. Chris Childs has maintained that if he had wanted to, he could have hit him harder. Number 3. Larry Bird vs. Julius Erving. Larry Bird is an American former professional basketball player, coach, and executive in the NBA, and is widely regarded as one of the greatest basketball players of all time, while Julius Erving II, commonly known by the nickname of Dr. J, is an American former professional basketball player. Larry Bird is one of the greatest players and trash talkers in NBA history. Needless to say, his game and his mouth created some tension amongst his peers. When the Eastern Conference powerhouse Celtics hosted the 76ers, another of the East's top teams, things got out of hand quickly. Dr. J took Bird down in transition and Bird went after him. The end result was Bird being held back by other players, while Dr. J landed jab after jab on Larry Legend's face. Number 2. Robert Parrish vs. Bill Laimbeer. Robert Parrish is an American former pro ball player who played 21 seasons as a center in the NBA, while William J. Laimbeer Jr. is an American basketball coach and former player who is the head coach of the Las Vegas Aces of the Women's National Basketball Association. Bill Laimbeer was already known as one of the most aggressive players in the NBA, and Boston's old-school leader, Robert the Chief Parrish, had enough of Laimbeer's dirty play during Game 5 of the 1987 Eastern Conference Finals. Number 1. The one and only Sean Bradley. Sean Paul Bradley is a German-American former pro ball player who played center for the Philadelphia 76ers, New Jersey Nets, and Dallas Mavericks of the NBA. Nicknamed the Stormin' Mormon, Bradley was one of the tallest players in NBA history at 7 foot 6 inches. If you watch the old footage, you'd find it to be grainy, but it's still easy to tell that a 7 foot 6 man is being lifted up, folded in half, and slammed to the hardwood by another player. Getting body slammed on any surface, no matter the size of the person, has to hurt, but being 7.5 feet tall and having that happen on a basketball court? Yikes! Ladies and gentlemen, that's it for today's video. Join us another time for more of such interesting content. Goodbye!